So there's been a series that's been at the top of my to-buy list for the longest time. Not just because it's an artist that I really like and I've heard great things about it, sure, but because it's a zombie manga. I'm a huge fan of zombie stories. I really love The Walking Dead. I love the old school zombie films. And I personally haven't ever seen a zombie manga in any sort of physical form aside from Zom 100, which is a more newly published series from Viz. So of course this series just piqued my interest and I went out of my way, it's a really long story, but I went out of my way to find every single volume of this, and I was really pleased to finally be able to own it. I completely binge read the whole thing, and now I want to let you guys know what my opinion of it is. So of course the series that we're talking about is Kengo Hanazawa's I Am a Hero. Welcome to On The Shelf, and let's get straight to it. So I Am a Hero is printed by Dark Horse in these omnibus editions, and each one contains 2 volumes. So there are a total of 22 volumes collected over 11 omnibuses, and if you can find these, then I urge you to pick them up as soon as possible, because I know that the later volumes are really difficult to get hold of, and I had to import some of these from different countries and things like that. That's a story for another day. Let's just get into why I love this manga. So I Am a Hero ran in the seinen magazine Big Comic Spirits from 2009 to 2017. It's a really kind of realistic zombie manga, but with very supernatural elements as well, which is kind of one of the main draws of the series. The story revolves around Hideo, who is a manga artist's assistant, and he's a really eccentric main character, and I don't think I've ever really experienced a main character quite like him. From the offset, we're kind of introduced to this character. He's really out there, he's really socially awkward, and as the story progresses and the zombie outbreak escalates, Hideo has to kind of step up and be the hero of the story, even though in any other circumstances he would just be the kind of weird side character almost. I think that idea in itself is just brilliant because, you know, there's so many stories with main characters and protagonists that seem like they were born to be that way. They were born to be the hero of the story. And Hideo is not only just kind of a normal, regular guy, he's actually a social outcast and someone who no one would expect to be heroic in any way. And I mean, he doesn't start off heroic, he kind of progresses to that point throughout the story, but that is what really shines for me in I Am a Hero, is the character development. We also later have our second main protagonist, which is Hiromi, and she is a schoolgirl that Hideo meets within the forest, and they become kind of joined at the hip as they try and travel across Japan and really kind of navigate the world as it is now. And that is another fantastic thing about I Am a Hero, is how much attention to detail Hanazawa really paid to the world and how certain aspects of it would change within a zombie outbreak. I think we've all sat around and kind of wondered what we would do in a situation similar to this, but he really took that to the next level. For example, there's things that are really well thought out that I'd never really personally considered. For instance, you know, some of the main characters are really concerned about committing crimes, and I think we all have seen Americanized and, you know, popular zombie stories where the world goes to shit and within 10 minutes everyone is killing each other and shoplifting and the law kind of goes out the window. And I don't know whether this is just a testament to perhaps Japanese culture and how nice the people are, maybe, I don't know, but a lot of characters in this are really concerned about, oh, we've got petrol from this petrol station, we better leave them money for the things that we took from this shop, or, oh, I ran over this zombie, shit, I hope I don't go to prison. It just really, I found it really strange to read, because I think everyone would just immediately not think anything of it. You know, it's always like, oh, they're zombies, they're not human anymore. And this really dives into the idea that people still perceive the zombies in this story as human characters, and they still feel guilt for the actions that they commit. It's not as if a switch has just been flipped and everyone has lost their humanity overnight, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the story. Now, as I said before, the general premise of I Am a Hero is a zombie outbreak. So Hideo works as a manga artist assistant, and he then becomes wrapped up in the zombie outbreak. He seems to notice it before quite a lot of other people do, mostly out of just coincidence, whilst other people sort of slowly come to that realization. Because it's not... The zombies in this story aren't just like they die and then they immediately come back to life. It's like people get bitten and within a few minutes they start to act more erratically. Some of them, they're a bit more contorted. Their eyes kind of go a bit bloodshot and they might walk or move in strange manners. You know, people have been run over and then they become these like twisted up zombies that shouldn't be able to move, but they obviously do. But for a lot of people, you know, they might get bitten or something might happen to them, and then they just start to act strangely. So there's a scene that I remember quite vividly early on where Hideo gets into a taxi with two people who are quite clearly infected, and then as time goes on they start to sort of talk in gibberish and act very weird, and then they become violent, and then, you know, chaos ensues and all kinds of really great action sequences. But it's a very slow burn. It's not just told in a way that someone wakes up, like in 28 Days Later, someone wakes up and the zombie outbreak has happened. You get to see the whole slow progression of it. So I think, you know, some people might be put off by that. Some people might pick up this series and want it to be this immediate sort of transition from normality to chaos, and it doesn't happen that way. It happens in a way that you get to know and understand the characters first, and then see their day-to-day lives, and then start to notice alongside them how things alter. What I will say, however, is as the story progresses, there are more supernatural elements that are introduced. So it becomes less about these normal zombies, or as they're referred to in the series, ZQNs, and it starts to take on a slightly different kind of direction. I don't want to spoil anything, but there is much more to this story than meets the eye. But what stays at the core of I'm a Hero's story, even with all these extra elements thrown in, is Hideo and our main characters. This is what shines for this manga, and I think if anyone picks this up and immediately expects action, all guns blazing, you're gonna have a bit of a shock. There are moments like that in this story for sure, and when the action hits, it hits really well. The artwork is just phenomenal. He just does some of the most amazing double spreads of like the zombie outbreak and how it develops over pages, as well as like huge catastrophes, and you know, with each volume things escalate and there's more chaos, more destruction. It does get to that point, but it takes its time to get there and nothing is ever rushed, and there's entire kind of volumes which feel not like filler but more so character development. And I think it's really important because when people die in manga, people die in this manga, you know, there's zombies, people are going to die, and I'm not going to tell you who, but it's nice to have some sort of attachment to those characters as opposed to them just being kind of there for the sake of being there. There are main characters in this that do die, and there are different groups as well. You know, you follow all these different groups throughout the story and you become attached to different characters for different reasons, and I definitely think that later on I might forget aspects of I'm a Hero in terms of the story. Like, there's things that get thrown in there that don't necessarily get answered and don't necessarily have a conclusion to them, and I might forget those concepts. Although I enjoyed them when I read them, I might forget them. But what I won't forget are the characters. On a side note as well, there's just some things in this manga that I couldn't quite believe that I was seeing. There are zombie babies, there are pregnant women with zombie babies still attached to them in some fashion. You know, the zombies in this story still retain some of their humanity to an extent. Like, they're known to have a routine, so a businessman zombie might still go to work in the day and then come home at the same time he usually would in the evening. So each zombie isn't a copy-paste clone of the previous one. They've all got a backstory, and it's all quite apparent when you read it, and it's just fantastic. It's really, really creative. It's really well thought out, and I thought that it was just the best way to not only have an interesting setting and an interesting set of characters, but to also make the zombies and the villains of the story, I suppose, more interesting as well. And one really important thing that we need to talk about for I'm a Hero is the artwork. It's not your kind of traditional shonen art style, and the character designs are quite odd. Like, they're not something that I've particularly seen in any other manga. Hanazawa definitely has his own staple art style, and it's really, really nice. I really like it. I think it sits really well with his more realistic style of storytelling. One such example of just how unique his perspective is in terms of his artwork is Hanazawa uses this kind of first person view, which is something that I haven't ever seen in a manga before, and if I have, I haven't seen it done in quite this way. So we see things from Hideo's perspective as he's holding his shotgun. Everything's shown to us down the barrel of the gun, so you start to see zombies running towards him, and you see his gun sway, and the background kind of pans across, and it was just so great. I really enjoyed that sort of different take of it. It really adds to the suspense of the story, so we're not just seeing everything from a bird's eye view or as an outsider. You really get put into Hideo's shoes in that situation. But with all fantastic stories and all fantastic manga, it really just depends on the ending. People remember series for how they ended rather than how they kind of felt as they enjoyed the series, and you know, that is sometimes a real shame, and endings are quite subjective. Some people enjoy one ending and they might hate another one. For example, I really love the series Lost, and I watched it religiously as it was airing, and the ending is a bit of a dumpster fire because they gave up towards the end. And I Am a Hero, in a similar fashion, some people might perceive it in that way. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything. This is a spoiler-free review, 100% completely spoiler-free. But there's events that occurred during the later stages of I'm a Hero that ended ultimately with Kengo Hanazawa's father passing away. And for that reason, some people seem to believe that he rushed the story, understandably, or he tried to wrap things up as quickly as possible. Similarly with Lost, you know, the creators had dug themselves into a bit of a hole, I think, with all the concepts they were throwing in and the ideas, and they couldn't quite make it work in a cohesive ending, so they just came up with a completely different ending. And for whatever reason, I Am a Hero takes a similar turn. So if you're looking for a story that's got a really kind of closed book ending, then I'm a Hero might not be for you. But I personally really love the ending, just because of what it did with the characters. All the characters were the meat and potatoes of this story. By the end, I was just really happy with the outcome, how, you know, Hideo had really developed as a main character, and really the story is about him. Whatever kind of things you might think about the zombies and everything else that came with it and how that really wrapped up, it's quite irrelevant when you think about it, because Hideo got his ending. And for that reason, I would still recommend I Am a Hero, because it's just a fantastic story. It's really well thought out for the most part, and I haven't ever read anything that's quite like this. It's quite rooted in reality, but at the same time, there's so many different elements of the supernatural that just feel so odd and out of place, but perfect for the story. Now, for those interested, there's also a live action film that's been created for I'm a Hero, which is also really good if you want to go and check that out, although it might spoil, or it will definitely spoil, a lot of the manga, so do with that what you will. But as live action adaptations go, this one is actually a really good one. If you have read I'm a Hero and you're looking for something more to check out from Kengo Hanazawa, then it's been delayed, but either later this year or beginning of next year, we are going to get Under Ninja, which is another series by him that's about a kind of urban ninja. Like, what if ninjas were real? I think that's what makes him one of my new favourite mangaka. It seems that he likes to create these stories that really subvert genres that we're already familiar with. So everyone's familiar with zombies, but I'm going to turn it on its head and make it something new and something different. And similarly with Under Ninja, it seems that he's taken ninjas as kind of a category and decided to change that for whatever reason and make it his own. So I hope you enjoyed this relatively short review of I'm a Hero. Granted, it's very difficult to find and buy physically, but in whatever fashion you can get hold of or experience I'm a Hero, I think it's so worth your time because it's just so much more than a zombie series. The characters are some of my favorites, and I probably need to rethink my top manga of all time list after finishing I'm a Hero, because I definitely think that this deserves a place somewhere within my top 10. So thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and if you are new to the channel, then don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell notification as well if you want to be notified when my new videos go live. So thanks again for watching. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys have been reading. Have you experienced any zombie manga before? Because as I said, I don't think it's a genre that I've really seen a whole lot of, so let me know down below in the comments. I'd be really interested to know. So as always, stay awesome, and I will catch you next time. Peace.